Hello. Welcome, at least one person, to another Afternoon Idle. My name is Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. You can find out more about Unified Mindfulness at unifiedmindfulness.com. Not as a licensed mental health professional, counselor, or social worker, any of those sort of things. But I've been a meditator for close to 11 years now. So, hey there, Sullivan. So yeah. So we're gonna not do much of anything today. What we usually do on the afternoon sits is playing around with contrasting techniques. And it's not because I necessarily want everyone to know one of the two. It's in some degree to begin to see that there's a balance, or that you can practice within that in between. So between just full on not doing anything at all, and somewhere between being hyper focused, one pointed, right on a particular, the sensation that's twitching in your eyebrow or something along those lines. It's really something in between those that is helpful to play with. And so when we look at a something practice and a nothing practice, I feel like that gets us sensitized to the in-betweenness of sensory experience. So yeah, how well that plays out, who knows? It's a long game. But that's where that's part of the philosophy behind doing these contrast sits. So we'll do something. Today, our something is referred to often in the Unified Mindfulness System as focus in, and then we'll have a nothing part with a little bit of a sort of gathering and settling at the very beginning. So Unified Mindfulness lays out these three broad categories to help us sort our sensory experience into. And that's C, which is both visual and exterior vision perspective and mental imagery. And then hear, which is external audio or auditory, I should say, not audio, but and then mental talk fall into that category. And then feel. And feel also lumps in smell and taste into that category. And that's physical body sensations. And that's also emotional body sensations. So each of those three categories has an inner and outer aspect to them. So we can play with. So one way of experiencing what we're doing, or the most flexible way, is to use those categories to experience both inner and outer. So whatever's happening, in theory, now we have a way for us to note and dwell or soak our attention into, and then use one of these labels to help us remain in contact with that experience, with where our awareness is directed. And so you can think of one way of looking at see, hear, feel with both inner and outer is we're noting everything. We're noting all of sensory experience. So we can also play with one of the categories, like just see or just hear or just feel. And then we can flip to just the auditory aspect of hear. So just hear out. And we could also do just hear in. So we can play around with those combinations. And it allows us to do a bit of cross-training. So the three skills that we're always training whenever we do mindfulness meditation is concentration, clarity, and equanimity. So by playing around with these, we can begin to look at kind of which of those categories and experiences do we sort of vibe with the most, which resonates the most with us. And then we can also play with both the outer aspects, which we have done a little bit on the Afternoon Idle in the past. And then we can look at just the inner side of experience as well. And so when we have see in, hear in, and feel in all focused on for a technique, we would refer to that in the Unified Mindfulness System as focus in. So that would be the shorthand for that. And then what that means then is our focus range is those three. That's mental talk, mental imagery, and emotional body sensations. So that's our focus range. And then the way that we would go about being in contact with that would be to allow our awareness to free float within those bounds. And then if we end up being drawn away by a sound, kind of note that, kind of then a quantumous nod, and then bring our attention back. So we could, a pain in the foot, we notice the pain in the foot, we see our attention, or notice that our attention is drawn to that, sort of a nod to it, and then bringing our attention back within the focus range. So that's the way to look at this. And so sometimes I like to play with just sort of one of those pieces, but the focus in begins to allow us to look at untangling what rises up for us for emotional experiences. So we may be able to see something like a herein triggers. So some mental talk triggers a mental image, or maybe the combination of those two things trigger an emotional body sensation. We begin to see the interplay of those. So depending on where you're at today, this may not be the best practice. So feel free to always shift to your home-based practice, and know that you can always suspend the practice. And when I say suspend, somebody asked me, what do I mean by suspend? I mean, don't do it. So you can just switch over to or you can get up. So I think it's, I have found it very important for me as someone sitting to know that I have or knowing that I can stop is helpful for me if I'm having adverse emotional reactions. So, all right. So we'll do roughly 15-minute sit together. So I invite you to take a posture that helps you to be both relaxed, alert, upright, dignified, and settling in, checking to see if there's any tension in the forehead, around the eyes, maybe the jaw or the neck, shoulders. And then just seeing if being aware of the tension helps to relax or release the tension. You can always take an active stance of bringing the shoulders up, bracing them for a moment, and then letting them drop naturally. If you're sitting in a chair or on a cushion, ideally we want our shoulders to be over our hips, our nose to be aligned with the navel. And then beginning a few intentional breaths, drawing from the wisdom of the 3 sages of the 5 boroughs, the Beastie Boys. Slow and low is the tempo we're looking for. Breathing in through the nose slowly allows us to fill the lungs down to the bottom. So allows us to get low into the lungs. And accentuating that exhale allows us to cue into the nervous system that we can relax. So just abiding in this position right here is a totally valid path. So if you want to stay here or know this is a waypoint you can come back to, we'll go ahead and begin the something part of our sit together. So if your eyes are open or your gaze has been dropped, you may not find as much mental imagery, which is totally fine. So we allow the attention to be focused in. And if there's activation in that area, we note it. Soak the attention in and optionally label it. You may find that you have activation in 2 of the categories at the same time. And it's perfectly fine to just pick one. Or you can use both labels. So if I have a sensation, emotional body sensation, and mental talk at the same time, I may say, feel here. But using just one of the labels is perfectly fine. Again, the label is just helping us to skillfully maintain where the attention is. We may find there's no activation in any of the 3 categories, and often I'm asked what to do about that. In that situation, 1, that's usually a reward state, and 2, we can notice that and label it rest. So explore, focus in for a bit. So often when we've made a deliberate choice to just focus in, we get a whole host of distractions around us. Pain in the knee, sounds around us, things of that nature. And so with each of those times that our attention is drawn away, we have an opportunity to offer care in bringing back the attention in a polite and gentle way. So each distraction is an opportunity to bring the attention back in a way that's not harsh. It's just an, oh yeah, I've been distracted. And bring the attention back. You can always increase the frequency of your noting or the rhythm if that helps. Or just check the tone of how you're labeling, making sure that you've got your inner yoga teacher or equanimous voice that you're using. You're not scolding. So we'll continue to focus in. So inner rest may not have been available to you, and that's okay, but if it was, see if you can bring a little bit of that into our time coasting here as we switch over to do nothing. Sometimes we can get just a bit of that feeling tone to carry in the momentum as we switch into allowing our attention to be free range and dropping the technique to do nothing. When we shift into do nothing, we're letting go of controlling where the attention is going, but what you may find is that there's a sort of mental muscle memory to the attention. So when I let go and start doing nothing, I find that my attention focuses on my spine and my posture. And I notice that and I let that go, and then my attention goes back to focusing on my spine and my posture. And I let that go. Attention goes right back. And so that's really a matter of allowing us to let whatever happen. Just coast. If your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them and connect to your surroundings. Do so in your own time. And relax back into things. Thank you so much for everyone that joined live, and a special nod to those that I know are watching after the fact and watching in the recording. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to respond, or reports. I'm always interested in hearing those too. Think about, a sit can be pleasant or unpleasant. It can be both, and it can be neither of them. Sort of. So those are always things to consider. Yeah, thank you for joining, Salva. And you are very welcome, Sarah. Sarah being one of the most regular attendees, so thank you for that. I still don't know about Thursday, so I'm going to try to keep it at the same time. There's a distinct possibility I may need to move it up an hour, which would make it noon Eastern, but I will know tomorrow. So, okay. Well, I'm going to stop. Hope you have a very good day, and thank you for your practice.